everybody. I'm really excited to be here with you this afternoon or morning, depending on where you happen to be in the world, or late in the evening if you are far, far away. So very excited to talk about the GCPs of essential documents. So I'm just going to give you a little quick baby bio of me. I've been in the industry about 22 years. I've been in the clinical ops groups. I've been in pharmacovigilance, and I've been in QA, and QA is where I spent most of my time. So I've done the vast majority in QA, and I've hosted, I can't even count the number at this point, of FDA inspections, several MHRA inspections, helped sites with inspections, audited tons of sites. So I have a lot of experience with documentation and the GCPs thereof. I'm also a medical provider, so I have experience from the patient side as well. So I'm very excited to talk about all of these things with you guys today. I really do love questions, so if you have a question, please feel free to pop it in the chat box at any point in time, and we will pause periodically if you have any questions as well. So our learning objectives for today, as it applies to our essential documents, is we're going to talk about the investigational product, the development process, and the role of documentation within that process. Also looks like we've got some folks from QA, finance, IT, HR. Wow, we've got a lot of folks. Oh, I'm so excited. This is exciting. We're also going to talk about the roles and responsibilities during the study document handling process, so who's responsible for what. And we're going to talk about the importance of study files and the essential documents that are related to that. We're going to talk specifically about FDA audit findings, but these findings are pretty common across the globe. So we kind of see the same top 10 regardless of who the regulatory authority is. So let's talk about what essential documents are to begin with. So these are documents that individually and collectively let us evaluate the conduct of the clinical trial and its data. So these are what demonstrate that we followed all the rules, that everybody did their part, and that we met all of the regulatory requirements. So the biggest thing that I can say today is probably if it wasn't documented, it wasn't done. And some of you, maybe all of you, have heard that before. If we don't have documentation, we can't verify that the things that were supposed to happen in the trial actually did, in fact, happen in the trial. So our documentation is incredibly important. So let's talk a little bit about history. So following World War II and the Nuremberg trials, that's where all the war crimes were prosecuted, it was really clear that the atrocities that the Nazis committed, they called it in the name of medical science, right? So the doctors argued, well, there's no international law or informal statement that says this is illegal, so we went ahead and did it. So some U.S. doctors who worked for the prosecution said, all right, we'll fix that. And so on April 17th of 1947, they came up with an initial 6 points that defined legitimate research. That was ultimately expanded into 10 points, and that became what we now know as the Nuremberg Code. So this is the first major rules around clinical research. And then that was incorporated into the Declaration of Helsinki in 1964. So these are our first documents that protect the rights, welfare, and safety of subjects. Following that, the Belmont Report was issued, and this was triggered by the Tuskegee experiment. And what they were doing in the Tuskegee experiment was studying syphilis in African-American migrants and very poor people. What they didn't tell them, they told them it was a disease progression study, and they were just going to see what happened, but they didn't tell them that there was actually a cure. And so a lot of folks lost their lives, people got much worse, and that led to folks saying this is not okay and we need some more ethics around this. And so now we've got three foundational principles with it. Respect for a person, so autonomy, you get to choose and you need to have all the data to choose. Beneficence and justice. So those are the three hallmarks of the Belmont Report. And all institutional review boards or IRBs, whether they are central IRBs or independent IRBs in the U.S., do incorporate the Belmont Report, and they're looking for those things when they're looking at a protocol and the consents and those sorts of things. So the GCP itself was launched in 1990 in the International Conference for Harmonization. So this brought together regulatory authorities from Europe, Japan, and the U.S. And the purpose of it was to say we're all meeting the same standards so we can review each other's stuff and know that we have the same kind of basis here. And what that led to was an international standard to accept the results of those clinical trials as long as they were conducted in accordance with the ICH GCP guidelines on safety, quality, efficiency, and that they were multidisciplinary. So it really covers a range of things. We're going to talk a lot today about the ICH GCP E6, which is the clinical research piece. There is a revision that was recently released last year, so it's even more expanded, and it's great stuff. If you have not done any training on that, I highly encourage you to do that. There's some awesome training through Barnett with that as well.